everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're in Dallas, Texas. Well, just outside of Dallas. Back in the year 1980, Dallas made countrywide news with the axe murderer story of Candy Montgomery. Now, in this video, we're going to take you to a lot of the locations. Come along for the ride, it's gonna be a good one, and our story starts right here. So let's go. This is where our story begins. The Gore family and the Montgomery family were both active members of the church. So Candy Montgomery and her husband Pat attended here. Candy actually taught classes, Bible study classes for kids, was very active in the community. And then the Gore family, Betty Gore and her husband Alan Gore, also were very active here. And like I said, this is where our story begins. Now, as the story goes, Candy and Alan Gore were both into volleyball, and I guess the church had some type of volleyball league. But over time, Candy and Alan got to know each other, and then one day in this parking lot, I believe, Candy met Alan at his car and point blank asked him, "Do you want to have an affair?"
And, well, I'd like to have an affair.
And he was unsure at first, but as we know from history, he said yes, and that's where our story goes next. We're continuing our story here in the summer of 78, not the summer of 69, but the summer of 1978. Both Alan and Candy agree, yes, we're going to have an affair, and why not find a place to kind of shack up. And right here was the location of the old Continental Inn where Candy and Alan started their affair. They would stay in room 214. Today, this has turned into a strip mall right next to the same busy highway, but this was the location. Now let's go to the next one. Not too far from where we just were, right across the street at the Como Motel. This is exactly where their affairs continued. Candy wanted a cheaper rate. The Como offered that, kind of like that sleazy old motel look, but it was right across the street. And this is where their affair continued for the duration of the affair. Well, we've made our way to Richardson, Texas, and right here is the building Alan Gore was working at when he started his affair with Candy. And to give you just a little background on what happened, apparently on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Candy would drop the kids off at preschool. She would drive over here and to meet Alan for lunch. Now, what Candy would also do, Alan would have been parked somewhere out in this parking lot. Candy would leave love notes, gifts, maybe a box of cookies or something on his windshield for Alan when he got out of the car, or when he got out of work. Around 10 a.m. and Candy just left the church. The kids are at the church. She drops them off, and then she comes down to Dogwood Avenue in Wylie, Texas. And the reason she's coming to Betty's house is because of the fact that her daughter slept over there, and I guess she left her swimsuit or something along those lines, but she came to pick it up. I do not believe she knew what was gonna happen next. Supposedly this is the most famous house in Wylie, Texas, and I'm looking at it right now. Well, we've made it to the home of Betty and Alan Gore. The most famous house in Wylie, Texas. Now, once the deed was done and everything was done, supposedly Candy hopped in the shower in this house. She took a shower. She left the dogs running outside. And then she left Betty's 1-month-old baby crying in the crib. And because Alan was out of town on a business trip, the baby was there all day crying in the crib by itself. And then Candy leaves like nothing ever happened. So right now, we just left the murder house and we're driving as Candy would back to her house. And I was just telling my wife, Nicole, that I can't imagine what was going through her mind, like immediately after on this drive back. And we were just talking about, like, you know, there's sometimes people get like adrenaline rush, what'd you call it?
Yeah, it's like you have like a short period of time where you black out, and it's usually like due to anger, rage, or something. And I think that's actually a real thing, that like it's proven that does happen. You black out and you don't remember anything that happened while that was going on. And
she was like tested after too, where she had some type of psychological test done, and she didn't actually remember what happened. So I don't know, maybe when she was driving back she's like, yeah, I did it, or maybe when she was driving back she's like, that felt good, you know? Yeah.
Or she could have been like, what just happened?
Yeah,
one minute we were talking and then the next minute I'm in my car.
Yeah, and I don't know. Interesting. What you're looking at right here, this is Candy Montgomery's house in Fairview, Texas. So as you can see, she would have drove up the driveway right there, right to the 2-stall garage. She would have had to go inside and put Band-Aids on, change clothes. She was bleeding from her and Betty's fight. She put Band-Aids on, got back in the car, went to the church like nothing happened. Here's just to give you a shot from the other side. It's the blue house right there. You know what, I read an article while doing research on this. There's an architect that actually built this house for Candy and her husband Pat. And yeah, she was very much a partier. Party house to the max. At the time of the murder, Alan Gore then came to work here at this building. This is 1231 to 1251, and his exact office location was 1241 Columbia Drive here in Richardson, Texas. So he was working for a company called ECS Telecommunications at the time of the murder. Now, the day of the murder, summer 1980, Alan's working at this company, but he's gonna go to the airport and he's getting on an airplane to go for a business trip. Little did he know that's the day his life would change. Final location for this video, and here we are at the old Collin County Courthouse. It is now a performing arts center, specifically the McKinney Performing Arts Center. I really want to see if I can go inside, because the courtroom is still pretty much exactly what it was. I know they added a stage, but the chairs now are the same. So let's see if we can get inside. Maybe we'll be lucky and it'll be open. And it is. Pretty sure it's on this floor. Show in progress, so that's a good sign. Courtroom theater, I think it's in here, but as you can see, it's locked, so we'll try and find another entry. So this would have been the courtroom. It's locked today, can't get in there, but I can kind of peek through the side, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, this was an 8-day trial, and if you know the story, she was acquitted, never fully convicted of the murder. They couldn't prove it, self-defense, this or that, but she was acquitted. And then her and her husband walked out of the courtroom as free citizens. But yeah, this is where it all happened. Now, another thing I wanted to mention too was when this trial happened, the 8-day trial, there were so many townspeople that came out. They wanted to see what was going to happen to Candy Montgomery. And when she was acquitted, they were just beyond shocked. They could not believe that she was able to get out of this free. And it's still a strong mystery today. Pretty crazy.
Slow down.
Oh my God, I can't believe we got in. Wow. Can you give me that? So it's dark in here, but there's no lights. This was the exact courtroom where it all happened. I didn't think I would get in here today, but like I said, this stage is new. Wasn't here back then, but all this would have been filled with people during the court case. Crazy. She would have came out of this building with her husband hand in hand. They would have got in the car and would have drove away as a free citizen. 2 years after the case, Candy and Pat would leave their lives in Texas behind and move to the state of Georgia. A few years after that, Pat would divorce Candy. Pat lives today in Sarasota, Florida, while Candy is still in Georgia. Currently, she works as a mental health counselor with her daughter, Jenny.